Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us. We feel very privileged to be here today to market Leganto, but to market Leganto through Amatuba and through our SILT and CHED colleagues as well. This is going to be a short introduction, and then Dianne will take us through a live demonstration of Leganto. So a quick disclaimer. As always, you know, the platform and the systems that we are currently and continuously working on, as you well know, being the pilot group, will be updated and refined. So what you see today in this presentation, and of course for our colleagues that will be listening to this recording at a later stage, what you see today might look a little bit different when you go into the live environment. So Leganto is a simple and flexible online tool. It is a plugin within Amatuba and is easily used to create, to maintain, evaluate, and share course reading lists. There are many advantages for academics. Firstly, the reading lists are structured and dynamic. There are various templates that one could choose from, and the reading lists can support a range of sources, which include print, electronic, YouTube videos, etc. We fully leverage our library subscriptions, or what we also call our online journals or online subscriptions, by linking directly to library resources within Primo. Content is also easily available, it's easy to update, and the reading lists can be used from year to year with these updates. This we call a rollover function. Another name for it could also be a duplicate function. Further advantages, reading lists encourage student engagement. Students are able to make comments and discussions can take place within the reading list. Leganto has a reporting tool that allows academics to see how students are engaging with the resources in the reading list. As libraries, we offer support by training academics and training support staff in order to develop their own reading lists. Some advantages for students. Students are able to access all course readings in one place. The access is from Amatuba in this particular example that we will be showing you today. And this includes ebooks, journal articles, and other electronic resources, including websites and videos. Within Leganto, students have direct access to Primo, where they can see information pertaining to a particular print resource, where to find it, if it's available, etc. All right, so on the issue of copyright, so whether you are in Vula or whether you are in Amatuba, copyright is copyright is copyright. And so what do we mean by this? We mean that course materials should be cleared via the Czech PLO, because this is how we maintain copyright compliance for the university. So this is a standard procedure, ladies and gentlemen. I have put the link in this particular presentation, and we do have a resources page right at the end of the presentation where we will provide you with further details and further assistance when it comes to copyright. Library staff will digitize material from our print collection if an electronic alternative is not available, and if the amount is determined to be within fair use guidelines. And I'd like to make a point that this is why libraries have endeavored to purchase all or most of our resources in e-format. So our e-books are now increasing in number, and this bodes well, particularly for those that will be using Leganto. We ask that you always link directly to content within Primo or our databases, rather than downloading and posting it as a full text PDF. We recommend not to upload articles acquired through interlibrary loans or another institution. And we recommend uploading documents that are your own intellectual property. You are also able to upload documents such as a course reader within Leganto. All right, so now we're going to move on to a demonstration. So if you'll just give us a minute to exit out, and we will demo. Are there any questions perhaps at this stage, or we'll go through the presentation and you can make a note of the questions you have. So we'll show you what. Right, so you can all see the screen. Maureen, you can see the screen, right? The BrightSpace screen, excellent, all right. So at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, we are in Amatuba, and courses are available from the grid, or what we spoke about yesterday called the waffle in our hypothesis session. It's also listed under the banner of called My Courses. And so you'd select your course. And in this instance, we can see that it's called the Library Sandbox. So our course is called the Library Sandbox. Okay. So now that you're in your course, we'd ask you to select content. Yes, so you'll see that content link on top. Right, so this action allows one to add Leganto by selecting the Add Existing, so that little blue button on the right-hand side. And now you are able to select External Tool Activity. In the Insert an External Learning toolbox that opens, now you are able to select Leganto Reading List. So Dianne, if you can just scroll down a little bit for me on the left-hand side there. Okay, so on your left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be able to see the Leganto tool, or you can have a look. On the right-hand side, you'll see the open link button to access Leganto. So this particular open link provides you with additional space, or what we would call the expanded view. And this was one of the comments that came out of our session yesterday in Hypothesis about an expanded view for viewing certain applications within Amatuba. All right, so Leganto opens up in a full screen. So let's just recap what we've done. We have our course. We then added Leganto as a tool. And now we are going to create our reading list within our course. We recommend for now that you select Create a New Reading List from scratch if you are new to Leganto. There is a way for existing users in Vula who have reading lists already to easily export to Amatuba. But for now, we will concentrate on the Create New functionality. Great. So as you see, the new page comes up and the title is already pre-populated. So you are able to add to the title if you so wish. So in this example, we are going to underscore and add SILT. So depending on your needs, you could add to your title, and we could add a description. It is optional, but descriptions always help students to understand the course. And we create. Right. Now we are presented with 3 separate templates, and we are able to select a template. The first template you will see is called default. It's a blank list. It gives you lots of flexibility. The second template, essential, recommended, further. And the third template is divided into weeks. So depending on how you want your course to look and your course reading list to look within Leganto, you can select either of these. For this particular example, we are going to be selecting the essential, recommended, and further option. Now we are ready to add an item to our reading list. So you'll see the add items that Dianne just clicked on, that little button there. So once you've selected that particular icon, you would have seen a window that pops up on your right-hand side with add items options. Our recommendation is that your starting point to be to use the library search function. So the library search takes you directly into Primo. You are also able to search using different options such as article and other e-resources, UCT library catalog, and more in order to trace a particular reading you would like to add to your reading list. Okay, Dianne, so let's select the UCT Libraries catalog, and we're going to look for a title called 100 Years of Social Protection. So you'll see Dianne has punched that in the enter search criteria, and she searched. And the minute she searches, a list of results pop up and runs down on your right-hand side. So what you would need to do is identify, and Dianne has identified the reading that you would like to add. And now she is able to add it to the list. So you'll see that drop down. It gives you an option. Would you like to add this particular reading to the essentials part of your reading list, to the recommended, or to the further? So for our purposes, we are selecting essential, and we are adding this particular reading into the essential part of our reading list. And now it populates on the left-hand side. So we can see the item now on the left-hand side. And one is also able to add by dragging and dropping into the essential list. So Dianne is going to just select an example, and she drags and she drops into the essential part. She'll do it again, drag and drop. And it really is as simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. And so now you'll see within your essentials part of your reading list, we have 3 readings that are sitting comfortably and easy to use within Leganto. So Dianne, let's have a look at the first one, yes, the 100 years. So here we can see that the status is complete and that we are able to immediately view it online. Dianne will click on view it online, and it opens up in a new tab where we are now able to view this item. Okay, the system is just thinking a little bit. And there we go. And so now you can see this item pops up, and students now have full access to this particular item. So without leaving Leganto, students are now able to access their reading lists. So we'd like to do another search, and this time we are going to search for an item called Law and Social Theory. So you see Dianne would have gone back. She would have selected the library search again. She punches in the title. She selected UCT Library Catalog, and she's searching. So she's searching in the right-hand panel. The results are coming up, and we can see that result. And for this particular example, this item we'd like to add to our recommended reading list. We don't feel it's essential. We think it's recommended. And so we add it to our recommended part of our reading list. And here you can see this looks slightly different. This is a print book. It's saying being prepared, and it's available at the law library it gives us the open shelf number so the student knows exactly where to find this particular item. So we've now pulled in an ebook, we've pulled in a print book, and so now we'd like to add a journal article to our particular reading list. And we've selected a title. We go back to add items, library search. And this time around, we are selecting articles and other e-resources. We're pasting the title down of what we are interested in, and we're doing a search. And so we'll scroll down to see the item that we are interested in. And this time around, it's also part of our recommended list. And so we can add it to our recommended list. And so now we can see the article title, the author, it's complete, and once again, the view online. Excellent. Okay, so that was an example of adding readings to a reading list using the library search function. There is another function that is exceptionally amazing, and it's called Cite It, and we'd like to introduce you to Cite It. It allows you to select a website or a YouTube video, for example, and it pulls the information directly in and not having to capture all the data. As much of the metadata is pulled through as possible, and it's done automatically. So this is where we find the Cite It widget. So Dianne, if you would hover over your profile, so everybody would have a profile in the right-hand corner. It would come up as your initials, and then just fourth from the top, you'd see your Cite It widget. You'd click on it. Now, in order to use Cite It, you'd have to drag it, and you will drag it into your bookmarks page. So now you can see Cite It is comfortably sitting within your browser in your bookmark section of your particular browser. Right, so now hypothetically, we are interested in a YouTube video for our course. What you would need to do is you'd need to go out of Amatuba, you'd go into YouTube, for example, and you'd search for the particular YouTube video that you are interested in. We have selected this video, post-positivism. Now we need to pull this video into our reading list. And the way that we do that is by employing the Cite It button. So Dianne, if you can click on Cite It. So what happens is that the minute you select Cite It, a little box on the right-hand side opens up and asks, is this what you are looking for? And it certainly is. And so now what we need to do is we need to tell the system which course we would like to add this video to. So I just want to pause here for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. For those academics who will be looking after more than one course, in this particular view, you will see all the courses you are part of as a collaborator, academic, researcher, etc. The term we use is collaborator. For this particular example, the course that we are collaborators for is the library sandbox _SILT. So we select that particular course, and now we select the part of the reading list where we'd like this particular reading to sit. And for an example, we would consider this to be further reading. And add. Now the system updates and it confirms with us that your item is successful. We go back into Amatuba Leganto, and when you scroll down, it updates it automatically, and we can see within the further section of our reading list, the video is sitting comfortably. And you can see it has a complete status, and we can view it online. So with a click of a button, students can now...
Dianne, we can't see your screen anymore.
All right, we're just going to give us one moment. Thank you, Maureen. You can see it now? Excellent. Okay, great. Thanks, Maureen. So let's go back to the library. I know that little box keeps on coming down. You can still see that, Maureen? We're now in Leganto.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Right. So it's just updating now. And we'll scroll down and show you once again. There we go. So now the YouTube video is sitting in further and we can now view it online. So now we've pulled through a print book, an ebook, an e-journal, and a YouTube video. So it is an extremely powerful tool. We do hope that you use the cited button. It's a wonderful function to use. Right, so we've done all of those. Do you want to have a look at an Amazon example, Dianne? Right, so let's say hypothetically you are searching, you're doing some research and you come across a book that's in Amazon, for example, and you would like to include this particular title in your reading list. So from Amazon, from the website, you can now once again select Cited. The same box will appear. So this is just because we have downloaded Cited because we've been testing it. It pulls through the metadata as you can see. Let's just do that once again. All right, and so now we've selected, you can see the course is pre-populated, libraries, sandbox, SILT, and we consider this to be part of our further reading as well. And so now we add. All right, and we go back to Leganto, Amatuba, and we scroll down and we have a look at further. And now we can see that this is a title that we are interested in. Right. So we have a feeling, or we know, or we've checked that this particular title is not part of what we currently have in our collection. And so we are then able to alert the libraries that this particular title needs to be ordered. So there is a function called add tag. And if you scroll down, there are different options. And the last option you can see is purchase request. And so instead of sending an email to your librarian and say, please buy this book, you can now send a purchase request through. And this item will be marked as purchase request and will go through to our acquisitions department. Okay, so that's the functionality of the add tag. There are other functionalities within add tag as well. So Dianne, do you want to just click on the top add tag? Perfect. Now, hypothetically, if you selected a template with weeks instead of essential readings, then this is where your essential and recommended tag will come, will be quite useful. So for week 1, you could divide your readings into essential and recommended. Or if there was something that you wanted that needed to be digitized, you could then select digitization required. Okay. So really that was just a very quick world global view on what Leganto can do and how to pull resources in and create a reading list. And using various resources, using the library search and using Cited. There are a few features that we would like to talk to you about. So the one feature that we did speak to you about right now was the add tag feature. The other feature would be your add notes feature. So if you were to select a title of a reading, you would see that further down there are public notes and there are private notes. So a public note would be visible to anyone viewing the list. So for example, Dianne is writing a public note to her students to say this video explains the concepts, etc. I can't spell. That's right. Excellent. And then you'd save. Thank you, Dianne. All right. And then we have private notes, which are only visible to yourself. So you could add a private note as a collaborator. And you could save that. So let's have a look at what it looks like from the front view. So you can close that. And now you can see that the public note is now visible, whereas the private note is not. Okay, so that's the one feature, that's the adding notes feature. And Dianne has clicked on the title again. We just want to show you, just in the top right-hand corner, students are able to like the reading. And there is a student discussion link right at the bottom. So this is at an item or individual citation level. There are options to switch it off if you are not comfortable as a collaborator for students to discuss, but we found it quite useful. And then we have a library discussion as well, Dianne. So if you just click on that link again. So that's the library discussion. This is also at an article level or an individual citation level, and you can correspond with your librarian and you can view their responses in this pane. So that's quite a powerful tool as well. And you can submit your content, your comment. Yeah. And then it would reach your librarian. All right. Okay, so we can exit out of the screen, Dianne. So let's have a look at Leganto and the admin side of it. So in your right-hand panel, I'm sure you've noticed that percentage. So every time we did something, the percentage increased. So this is called the list advisor. When you work on a reading list, you will see the list advisor, and it's a feature that will assist you with suggestions on how to improve your reading list. So how to make it more user-friendly. Dianne, if you can click on the make this list better. And so the list advisor provides us with recommendations for improving your reading list. These, of course, are optional, but we do ask you to have a look at some of the suggestions, and you will see the green box with the ticks are the ones that we have already exercised or employed, and the ones that are grayed out are suggestions that you could possibly follow to make your reading list more user-friendly. All right, so that was the list advisor. Then under the list advisor, you'd find collaborators. So this is really essential in order to allow other course instructors to add and edit items within your reading list, particularly if you are not the only lecturer for this particular course. You would want to add your colleagues. And you can see Dianne is, as she's typing, she's finding colleagues that are going to be part of this particular list. It is recommended that you add your subject librarian as a collaborator in this list, because by adding us, you allow the librarian to assist when training is required. So we find that very, very important. We'd like to also just add a note that if you cannot see the staff member you would like to add as a collaborator, there's a technical reason for that. The chances are that the person's library profile would need updating. And if you come across anything like that, we will send you the email address and we will check it on our side and we will update the library profile. Okay, and then here again, you'll see there is further student discussion and further library discussion as well, that you can make comments. All right. So there's another feature that we'd like to talk to you about. So Dianne, if you can hover over your profile, that's Dianne's profile. And when she clicks on it, and she goes into user settings, there are what is called notifications. So let me talk to you about notifications. Leganto sends notifications by email when there is activity on your reading list. You can switch off the email notifications by going to your user settings, and you will still be able to see your notifications by navigating to the bell icon. So Dianne is showing you that bell icon next to your initials. So when switching off the email notifications, you are not deleting the notifications. Once you are in your Leganto Amatuba course, you will still be able to see the notifications. But what it does is it does not flood your email. There is one note that we would like to make, is that Leganto would send those email notifications once a day in a batch. So hypothetically, 1 o'clock in the morning, for example. So that's really nice. I mean, it's really good. So you can see the notifications come through in your email. But if you would prefer for that not to happen, please switch your notifications off and you can still see the notifications in the bell icon. Okay. So those were some of the technical aspects. The other, you know, as an academic, as you're putting your reading list together, you might want to have a look and see, but what is the student actually going to see? And so this is called the student view. So Dianne will navigate her way up to the 3 ellipses right on top. And when she selects that, you can view list as a student. And so the student icon pops up right at the bottom. So you know that you are in student mode and you are able to see these particular resources. So I can see what is in my essential, my recommended, and my further section. Right, and you can very easily also exit by the X on the right-hand side. You exit out of student mode. Right, there are 3 more functions we'd like to show you. So the one is called library review. So you need to send your list to the library for review. And once you click on it, the library will process what needs processing. So for example, if you have asked for digitization, or if you have asked for an item to be purchased, then it will go through on that side. The next is publish. To make your list visible to students, it needs to be published. Unpublished lists will have a status of draft and can only be viewed by list creators and collaborators. Your list will remain in draft form until you publish it. We'd like you to note that there is no reason for you to wait to complete your reading list before you send it to the library for review. And you can add readings even after you've sent your list to the library for review. And then the last that we'd like to show you is the analytics. So Dianne is just going to one of her other courses that she looks after, just to show you what the analytics looks like. So let's pretend that we are still in the library sandbox _ the SILT course. And you'll see the little bar graph right on top. And once you click the bar graph, it loads the resources and it pulls through the analytics for each item. So these analytics are on a citation or what we would call article level. And so you could see activity of students, total activities, student usage, etc., downloads, comments by students, likes by students, and marks. So you could easily have a look and see the kind of activity happening within each item. So I think that, and I just want to point out as well, as we've been going along, just have a look at, we can go back to our list, Dianne, to our sorry about that, colleagues, to our sandbox. And so now you can see that our list advisor was at 53% and now it's at 58% because we have done something under the make this list better option. We've actioned something that is making our list now far more user friendly. So those are sort of just the concepts that we would like to cover with you today. Now, this doesn't mean that anything ends here. We are available for further discussion. But we would like to ask Richard at this point, Richard, if you are willing, we did speak earlier, to show us what your course looks like. Richard's been quite active with Amatuba and Leganto. And we're just going to stop sharing on our side. Thanks, Richard. And thank you, Colin.
In Amatuba, this is my course homepage, which I'm busy preparing, so please excuse this. I'm still busy working on the content and updating the content and getting it all shipshape. But I do have the reading list section live in the site. And there were basically options that I had. One was to include the reading list in the course orientation, and the other to kind of include it on its own. I chose specifically to include it on its own rather than a lesson in the or a content page in the course orientation. So it's got its own unit. The reading list has its own unit, which you can see from the reading list tile there in the course content area. So if I go into the course content screen, I would see the reading list unit there. And if I click on the content page, it opens the list. Now, obviously, this is my view, so I've got the list advisor and everything in there. So I'm going to switch to student view. Okay. I must just add something here that I had a little bit of trouble when I was setting up this list, in that at the time that I was setting it up, it just happened to be at the same time that the domain name for Amatuba was changing from BrightSpace. So I actually didn't have direct access to Leganto through the BrightSpace platform. And what I did was I set up the Leganto reading list for this course on the Vula site. I did an export to an LGN file and then imported it from the Vula site into the BrightSpace platform, into Amatuba. So if you do already have a reading list in a Vula site, it is actually fairly easy to just import it into Amatuba if you need to. A couple of things that I would like to show that I find particularly valuable. The one thing is that I'd like to give a bit of comparison of the student experience. By showing what a reading list would look like in the course outline. So this is typically what my students have been experiencing for the past few years before I started using Leganto in earnest this year. At the beginning of this year, this is what they get. They get a PDF document that has got the reading list in it, which is great. It's nice for them. But the experience of using the Leganto reading list is just so much nicer and so much richer. And what I really value about it is that it has the direct clicks through to the articles or to the objects. So it's also fairly rich because, for example, clicking on this link takes the students straight through to Primo, and they can do whatever they can do in Primo. And it's not necessarily Primo itself. I'm going to find an example. So, sorry, that isn't the right one. I'm just trying to find the correct article. So there was an article that's not available through UT Libraries in digital form. UT Libraries did scan it for me, and I'm able to provide students with access to the document, which I've now lost. Sorry, that's this one. To the documents directly. So even though they would not typically have direct access to this book chapter from USD libraries electronically, and they'd have to physically take out the book, what's nice is that by clicking on View PDF, the students can access the scan of the document, which I think is really nice. Another thing that I really like about this is that there don't have to be library resources. So in this particular course, the students need to do some LinkedIn Learning tutorials, and those I have included here as well. So this tutorial, the student clicks on View Online, it takes them through to LinkedIn Learning. They can log into LinkedIn Learning through their with their USD credentials, and it's right there. So it's sitting in the reading list. The online tutorial is sitting in the reading list, which is also really nice for them. External websites, for example, the same thing. So this is a website that's an external website. I didn't use Cited here. I used the standard function of adding a resource without using Cited, and it worked perfectly. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. I'm happy to answer them. But perhaps one thing that I can also show is the site analytics. Now this is from this first semester, just to give an idea of students' interaction with Leganto. It's actually not all that great. If you look at the analytics from the first semester. So I would suggest that if you are an academic and you are going to be using the Leganto reading list, I did demonstrate it to my students in this course at the beginning of the course. I did show them it was there, but I think possibly to improve usage, I would ask them to, I would point it out more and remind them more frequently that the reading list exists in Leganto and that they should be interacting with it. So for example, there's some articles, there's just no usage, which tells me that the students didn't access that article at all, which is also useful from my perspective when compiling a reading list and revising a reading list. I can see that there might be certain items that simply just aren't of interest to students, and I can possibly look at replacing them with other items. So yeah, that's it from me. I don't know if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and ask. I'm going to stop sharing, and if there are any questions that require me to share again, I will do so.
So maybe at this stage, I can just come in, Richard, and say thank you very much for demonstrating that. And maybe just to sort of, I know we have only 8 minutes, but sort of just to round off what Richard and you know, what our team have been presenting is that, you know, so what next, right? What is the way forward from here? So the one way is that if you are interested in testing Leganto, that you would need to send us your staff number, and we'll check if you have a user record on the library system. So that's very important. And I mean, we had just assigned Nadine, I hope you don't mind, Nadine, but we assigned Nadine a user record today or yesterday, just, you know, testing the system. And so that we can assign you the instructor role for Leganto reading lists. And then of course you'd send us your course details, your course code and your course name, so that you know, you could see that then in Leganto and start playing around with that in the unpublished format to get familiar with it. And then of course, as libraries, you can set up individual training sessions with us. So whether, you know, you would like one session, or you know of 2 or 3 colleagues that you'd like us to sit with, and we can do it online and go through all the questions that you have. We're happy to do that. You know, as a team, we are very focused and determined to make sure that Leganto becomes the course reading list, because it is highly interactive. We do have a slide. I'll be sharing the slides with Nadine. There are some resources that we'd like to share with you as well. And then within, excuse me, within Leganto as well, we've got some tour guides. You know, there are ways of, you know, getting started videos and adding and editing item lists, etc. So always a place to go to after you've had a one-on-one or a group session with any one of us here in libraries. And then of course our contact details also that we'll share with Nadine. So yeah, that was just to round up what, you know, where to from here. And we do hope that unfortunately, you know, lots of academics, because they are so busy at this time of the year, that they would listen to this recording. We do hope so, and that for them to please make contact with us as libraries, because we are very definite in the training that we can provide for our academics. Yeah, so I'm going to end there.
Thank you, Dianne. Nadine, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think it's just for the people that are involved in the pilots. If you want to use Leganto, please feel free to also address the matter with your LD. And thank you so much for attending today. We appreciate your time.